Howdy y'all, and welcome back to Lives. I think it's time we play a little Minecraft. Alright. Yeah, I'm gonna have to probably, oh my, get a little mining done here to get some supplies. I am so badly out of supplies at this point, thanks to my mishap of swimming with lava. Look, they changed water. Woo. Yeah, I saw there were a few new changes to the game, and I was like, oh man, water is way different now. It's so clear. Oh look, I get fish now. Sweet. I was kind of hoping to see a dolphin. They've added dolphins to the game. Oop, oop. Yeah, I was looking at a few of the things. Oh, that's cool. I can now swim while looking around on the surface of the water. I like that. I guess I got a new block I wasn't aware of called a conduit. Not that I have any chance of making one of those, because I have no idea where the parts for it come from. I should pick that spot back there as the place where I go mining today. I need to make some torches probably before I go, though. No dolphins. At least not here, anyways. I don't know how much space they need to spawn in, so this is not getting me supplies. All right, let's head home. Whoops. And oop. Stop it. By supplies, I mean I need diamonds, but oh, I have torches. I have torches on me. Yeah. No, we're good to go. I've got food. I got torches. I've got arrows. Yeah. No, I'm good to go. Where's that hole I saw in the river here? Gotta swim down that. See what we can find. It's probably someplace I've already been. It's pretty close to my home. Right here it is. Yeah. They're torches. Never mind. I've been here. Alright. Well, then let's go find a new spot to mine in. And yeah. It has been a crazy couple of days here, let me tell you. Okay. So the news is like, the weather is like, bad ice storm coming in, gonna be like a ½ inch of ice, and we have, I don't know, sometimes the electricity here is fine, and other times it goes out for the stupidest things, and you're just like, why? Why would you possibly go out during this and not the other thing? And so I'm thinking, alright, we've got terrible ice storm, supposedly. I mean, we did get the ice storm, but it wasn't as bad as they were making it out to be. At least not so far. And I'm pretty sure we're getting to the end of it for today. So it's supposed to be clear or not clear, but dry most of the night. So, anyways, so Friday, or no, earlier in the week, I had checked the weather, and we weren't supposed to get anything like this until like Tuesday. And I was like, okay, so I've got this backup sump pump that I bought to replace the old one that doesn't work anymore, and so I'm really worried that the power is going to go out. And so I'm like, I need to get on that. And so I was going to work on it earlier in the week, but Stop looking in the water. You don't need in the water. You need a cave. And I can't get over the changes in the way water looks now. I guess they made the water allow more light through it, as well as changing the texture. And so blocks used to block 3 levels of light with each level of water, and now they only block one, which is why you can see farther. Anyways, so I'm like, all right, all right. So then the weather changes, right? And it's like, no, we're getting a horrible ice storm on Saturday. And I'm like, ooh, well, then that means Friday I had better get to work. And so I tell them, I'm like, hey, Friday I got to get that new sump in, and I'm probably gonna have to go to town to get some parts. They're like, all right, all right. So I don't know what they did because I was never informed what they did. They all left. They all left me here with one of the kids and my mother, who can't currently be left alone. And uh, so yeah, I can't leave a 7-year old here with my elderly mother who is kind of ill at the moment. And so yeah, so I'm just waiting. I got the parts done that I could get done, and so I was thinking, I don't know what I was thinking, but I for some reason in my head envisioned that what I had seen with the sump was that they had drilled or cut a hole through a piece of plywood and ran the pipe through there and then hooked the sump to that piece of pipe. And I don't know why I thought that because that is not how it was in there. And so that's why I had taken so long to do it because I was trying to figure out how difficult it was going to be to. It's not a very big hole, and I am a big dude. And so I was trying to figure out how I was going to. Here we go. How I was going to get in there and work with that. And so then I just decided, hey, I'm gonna get out my saw and I'm gonna cut the board, and then that way, um, I can just slide that right out of there because there's no reason for that board to even be there. So I went and I got all the stuff I need, and I charged up the batteries on my saw, and I got in there, and so I went to look exactly where I could cut because I didn't want to cut any kind of joists or anything like that, and it's totally not set up like that. Don't know why I thought that. It's nothing like what I was. What is that? Hey, something's wrong with the lava. Something's wrong with the lava. I assume that's lava. Your lava looks gross. My lava's sick. My lava got the mange. I didn't bring a bucket. I did, however, bring some iron ingots. But I don't have any wood. uh, hey man, I am trying to explore, not get shot in the face by stupid skeletons. So, oh, I'm like, why did it get dark? But that's because I put out the lava. So, so yeah, it was just a pipe going into a hole, into the main hole, and there was no reason to cut anything. I just had to unhook it and pull it out, and so I did. It wasn't very hard at all, and I'm like, man, I should have done this a long time ago. And so the new one needs an inch and a half hookup, which is the standard size of pipe. I'm like, okay, and so I pull out the pipe, and I'm like, I immediately, or I had noticed earlier that the old sump is on a L bend, and the new sump to replace it goes straight. Oh, the lava. I was like, who's been here? Uh, and So I'm like, well, this might be a problem. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe it's plugged in or screwed in, and I will get exactly what I need out of this, and it'll just plug into the new one. You know, I'm just gonna dig. I'm not gonna go back up. We'll see if we can. What level am I at? 42. I am way too high. See if we can dig down and find another. I don't really need any iron at the moment, so I'm not too worried about that. And I pull it out, and sure enough, it unscrews. And I'm like, beautiful. And I get it completely unscrewed, and the whole thing is just disgusting. I mean, it's been down in this hole that's damp and, half full of water constantly, and um, hence the need for the sump. And so I uh, I get it all like wiped down, and I take it over the new sump. It's a inch and a quarter adapter because the old backup sump is smaller than the new sump. At least the connector is. I'm like, all right, all right, and so I uh, I get in there and I'm like, okay, so this is what I'm gonna need, and I can't get the old piece off, so I need a new PVC pipe. I need a half-inch threaded collar, and I need some cement because I don't have any PVC cement. I mean, I have some, but it's all dried up, and yeah, I can't just use chunk of dry cement to. It's like rubber. It's not like cement. It's glue basically. Level 10. All right. I was hoping to find a cave. I did not. So we'll dig until we can find a cave, maybe. And so, anyways, uh, the I'm waiting and waiting, and I call. I call to talk to one of the people who's left. I thought they were grocery shopping. I'm like, well, maybe they can just pick up what I need, and then I can just go with that, and it'll be great. And so I call. They don't answer. I call. They don't answer. In fact, it goes to voicemail both times that I called. I'm like, great. So not only are you gone, but you're not answering your phone at all. I need something. And then uh, so then my sister gets home, and she says, "Gross lava." She didn't say gross lava. And so she's like, when they get back, you're going with me to town. And I'm like, good, because I need to go to town. And I'm like, how long are they going to be? Because I'd like to get this done and out of the way. It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And she's like, oh, well, they're just going to finish up the grocery shopping and they'll be back. I'm like, well, I tried to call to see if they could just pick up the parts I wanted, but they didn't answer. And she's like, oh, weird. Well, he answered when I called. She's talking about her husband. And I'm like, yeah, well, he didn't answer me. And she's like, well, he'll be back real quick, and then we can go to town. 2 hours later, um, 2 hours later, he gets back. So it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, ugh, I didn't want to be at this all day because it's going to take a while for the cement to dry. And I had hoped to just get this stuff done and out of the way. So my sister's decided she's going to buy a generator, and so that's what she wants to go to town for. And I'm thinking, well, the generator will be better than the backup sump, right? Because I'd much rather rely on a generator that's powering the big sump rather than the battery powered backup that might run out of power or not be fast enough to keep up with the amount of water coming in under the house. Yeah, don't ask me. I didn't build this place. I would have done it totally different because the one time the main sump didn't run, water rose up underneath the floorboards and came up through the flooring. I don't even know how, but I don't build houses, so I don't know what they did. And uh, yeah, so I think that's a great idea to go get a generator. And so we go to the first place, and I'm like, there's an ice storm coming, so I'm assuming that you're gonna have to spend quite a bit because people have bought the size that you need, the cheapest size that we could get away with. And so, sure enough, we go to the first place, and they have got one generator, and it's tiny. And I'm like, yep, nope, that's not gonna cut it. That is too small to do what we need. And so then she's like, well, where should we go next? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't shop for generators. I don't know why you're asking me. The best I did was looked up what size we needed, because I wanted to make sure we got one big enough to do what we needed. And so we go to the next store, and they have generators, and they have generators in the size we need, but they're expensive. Uh, I expected them to be expensive. They weren't terribly more expensive, but it was enough to make her want to shop at other places. And so then she calls another place. They don't have generators. She calls another place. They're closed. I mean, it's like getting on to 7 o'clock at this point. We've been gone for a couple hours. Um, and so I got my parts that I needed in the first store about 5 minutes after we walked in the first store. So I'm really ready to go home at this point. And although did want to get a backup generator just in case the power goes out. I mean, an ice storm is coming in, and ice is probably going to knock out our power, right? Right. And so we she finally calls a place that I wouldn't have expected to have generators, and strangely enough, they had generators. Oh, look, I've gone in a circle. And so she calls them. They said they've got two. She doesn't ask any questions, what size they are or anything like that. So we go over there, and he's got two, and both of them will work. And one of them is slightly more expensive than the other. Actually, the first store we went to that had generators in the size we needed, it was bizarre to me because the more powerful one was cheaper for some reason. uh, which was weird. Like, why is the more powerful generator cheaper here? I don't understand. Not cheaper than the store we were in, just they had like a 7,000 watt generator and a 6,200 watt generator, and the 7,000 watt generator was like $100 cheaper. And so I found that to be bizarre. But, anyways, so he's got two. We talked to him a little bit about what we're doing, and she finally decides to buy the generator, and so we get that loaded up, and I'm like, well, you're gonna need oil and gas. So then we go back to one of the stores we'd already been to. We have to buy a gas can because she didn't bring a gas can, and so we get in there and get the gas and all that. And we get home and we get it unloaded and we eat dinner, and uh, and so I'm like, well, I got all that stuff home, but it's going to take a couple of hours, and the ice storm's not supposed to be here until tomorrow at about 11 a.m. So I think I'm just going to wait till tomorrow morning to get up and work on that, because I assume we'll have a little time before the storm knocks out the electricity, if it knocks out the electricity. I mean, it might not knock out the electricity at all, right? And it's a light drizzle. Like, you don't even barely need to block yourself from the rain. There's so little rain coming down, and so oh, there we go. So we're going along and we ate dinner. I come down and I think I want to say I came down after dinner and yes I did. I came down. I got out my stuff to hook up the PVC and so I cemented the two parts of the PVC together that had to be cemented. I didn't cut it. It did have to be cut down to a smaller shape. I didn't cut that, and it was going to take 2 hours to dry, and so I was like, I'll probably just cut that and put it in tomorrow when there's a little more light, because I mean, there's a light bulb in the room we're putting it, but it would be brighter if I waited for daytime to work on this thing, because then the sunlight would be shining in from the, or well, the daylight would be coming in from the outside, and so so I decided to go with that, and I sat down at my computer and I started up Arc to record my video for the day, and I got about 10 minutes into recording Arc, poof, the power goes out. Now it's just a light drizzling rain. Even it's not even really raining. Like there are spots where there's just no water at all. It's not raining hard. It's not freezing. It's just a tiny, tiny like poof of wetness occasionally. The power goes out. Not only did the power go out, we were out of power for 23 hours. Uh, so we didn't hook up the generator. No, because we were going to wait until the next day when it was daylight to look at it. So now there's no light, and now it's nighttime. And so they're out there trying to figure out how to get the generator put together in the dark, wearing headlamps. Um, and I had grabbed the one of the bigger flashlights, one of the work flashlights, um, like construction work flashlight that's on a swivel neck and will stand in place, and you can aim it where you need it, kind of thing. And so I'm down here trying to get that battery backup in place, and I'm measuring and cutting and trying to figure out how all the parts go together, and so just as I'm about to get it all in place, um, they get the well, I went out to help them with the generator because they were having trouble getting it started, and so finally we figured out well, looked up what could possibly be the problem and figured out it needed more oil than we'd put in it, and so it got started, and then we ran extension cords because we don't have it ready to hook up to the house, um, and so we got power to the sump, and we got power uh, to like the refrigerator and freezer, and that was about it. And so that was the first day. And so we checked I immediately, as soon as the power go off, jump on my phone and I open up the app for my power company and inform them that we are not currently receiving power. And there were no other people listed on the app as having reported yet that the power was out. And I'm like, great, it's just us. And it's not windy, it's just a tiny amount of water. I don't understand why there's no power. And then eventually, this huge area is without power. Huge, like, I gotta say at least 40 or more square miles was without power. Uh, it was huge, and so the thing said, because it tells you an estimate of when power is going to come back on, and it was like, um, currently investigating problem, estimated restored, service, 11:30 p.m. And it was like 8 p.m. And so I'm like, all right. So they fill up the. Well, no, we didn't fill up. We had some problems with the gas tank or the gas can. It was weird. It's a weird gas can. And so we actually spilled a bunch of gas trying to figure it out and gave up on that and had a smaller gas can. And so they put the small gas can in, and then it ran for about 4 hours on the smaller gas can. And then by that point, they had said problem under investigation. Estimated restored time was 3:30 p.m. the next day. I'm like, well, that sucks. And so yeah. And then with the new backup sump pump, it was dark in the room, and I needed to figure out where the sensor goes, and so it kept going off before the actual sump could kick on, and so I'm messing with that, trying to get everything arranged, and then of course I'm so worried that we're going to get flooded out that I couldn't sleep very well, and then when the I also normally sleep with a fan going, so now there's no fan going, which doesn't help, and people are moving around all night long because they also couldn't sleep because there's no power, and eventually it ran out of gas, and there's a huge alarm on the backup sump when the power goes out, and so I went up to go put gas back in the thing, but there were other people already moving that direction, and yeah, and so but it's cold. It's cold out the next day, and so it's getting colder and colder, and finally the rain and ice has started, but that's not apparently a transformer exploded uh, nearby, and I'm not really sure how that wiped out so many people's power, but it did, and it took them forever to get it back. It was 7:41 when the power went out, and it was like 6:15, uh, 6:15 when they got the power back on, and so but by that point, um, uh, they had gone to town to get some food, and so we had hot food for lunch, and then uh, there was so much of it from the place they bought that I'm like, I'll just eat this for dinner too, because there's no way I can finish this for lunch. And so uh, I I had gone ahead and they were going stir crazy without the internet, and so I got out an extension cord and ran an extension cord from this where I had the sump pumps plugged into a thing. There was another opening, and so I ran the cord back uh, to a power strip that had the internet router plugged into it, and so that gave us back our wireless internet, and I had a light plugged into that, so I had a light on down here. And the dude said that, I mean, obviously our household it's not going to work, but he said that the generator we bought was probably enough to do about 90% of what we used to do. I'm thinking, we'll probably be lucky if we get half of what we used to do, buddy. I don't think you're aware how much power we use. We get these funny letters from the electric company about how much power we use. I think it's funny anyways. It comes in and it's like, you use 307% more power than all the houses around you. Yep, I'm sure we do. I'm sure we do. But that's just because there's so many of us and we have so many electronic stuff constantly going all day long. I do my job here, and so I'm pretty much constantly on my computer with my job and other things, and this stuff. Um, and with as many people as there are, there's a lot of laundry, and we got electric dryer and electric stove for cooking, and full size refrigerator, full size freezer. Anyways, and so yeah, so I thought, you know what? With this power strip here, I bet I can find another little extension cord and plug in one of my televisions. And so I've got a Roku television, and so that'll connect to the Wi-Fi to get Netflix. And I wanted to watch Lost in Space, and so I thought other people might like to watch Lost in Space while there's no power. You know, the new Lost in Space series. It's out on Netflix, and so I got that all set up, and then we watched through an episode of that, and everybody who wanted to, which was most of the household, came down and watched that, and and then after the first episode, I stopped it and went up and plugged in the microwave, unplugged the refrigerator, plugged the microwave in. Uh, Started to heat up my food, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna get some hot chocolate because it's freezing." And if I got the microwave plugged in, I might as well heat up some water. And it was like 54 degrees in the house at that point, sitting around in coat under a blanket kind of thing. And so not coat, but my flannel jacket. And so right about that time is when the power came back on, and so then we got the generator shut down, everything plugged back in, and then about 8:15 the power goes back out for about a minute, and I can hear my nephew just yelling about how the power's gone back out, and we just got it back on, and now we're gonna have to be without power again, and all I can figure is they must have been bringing other areas back online and had to shut it all down for a second because it wasn't like a storm where the power flickers and it just completely went out for a full minute and then came back on, and we haven't had any issues since. And we've gone through, that was last night at about 8:15, and so we've been getting freezing rain, leaving ice on everything uh, since that point in time, and no no power fluctuations, none. So we got the generator for the ice storm, and a little misting rain took it out. It's crazy. It's crazy. I just This is why I we used to have this other electric company. We moved and we got the bigger company now. Uh, and so we used to be part of this co-op, it's called. And so, oh, you don't get any money. You don't get any experience for mining gold. I guess that makes sense. Well, I mean, it doesn't make sense, but I guess I realized that it was just the stuff that breaks apart when you mine it. Uh, and so, only when I was a really young kid and they had like horrible damage to the substation from an ice storm do I ever remember the co-op. On the other hand, though, the co-op was more, you would lose power like daily, but it was for like a second. It was like there was a problem in their transmission grid or something, and so every day at the same time the power would go out for just a second, and boop, power goes out, boop, power's back on, kind of thing, which is super annoying. And But I feel like while most days we don't have power issues, the power's a little more fragile with the bigger company, and just the slightest weather can knock it out for hours. Whereas the other place, I don't think power ever went out like it does here, other than that half a second every day. But, well, I think this is probably a good place to call it. And, uh, so I got some other things I got to get done today now that we have power again. 23 hours without power is crazy amount of not being able to use my computer when everything I pretty much do is on the computer. Um, So, all right, with that, click like you like, subscribe, share, and catch the next one. And I will talk to you later.